Was there ever a time that he came to like maybe live with you in Buffalo? Was there ever a time?
When I lived in Detroit, he came, and when I lived in Erie, he came. Yeah, he spent some time with me because she had sent him once or twice because he was having problems too. He was having some legal problems, and he was walking the razor's edge. So there were some times when she sent him to be with me. She never sent Roy to be with me, but she did send Rick to be with me. So we had a closeness there that was way above the normal, because my other brothers and sisters, except for my sister Camille, we were very close because we had always been in the same area. But when she sent Rick to be with me, he learned. I don't know. He just got to know me better. So, but it wasn't until I came on the road that we all worked together. That was my first time working with my brothers as men. Not as me being the oldest and the boldest and all that kind of stuff, or the toughest. So we were all equals. In fact, they were my bosses. Rick was my boss, and he made Roy like a manager. Not a very good manager, I'm gonna say, but he was a manager, and head. And even Mama ran the office, and my sister ran the office. So and my sister Cheryl. My sister Cheryl got paid not to work. She got a check every week for not working, because he couldn't trust her to really do too much that was going to be right, because she had another training and she was kind of dangerous. So he respected that, but she couldn't work. But she she came down and got her check just as well as anybody else, and would get mad if it wasn't on time. So so we had our own little comedy shop going there. And it's very seldom that you can see a family working together and kind of grooving. I give him credit for doing that. I mean, my mother prompted him, but he had to do it himself. And we had our ups and downs with that, but it was a very effective unit. And we had that cohesion where when things was tough, we'd just bond together. So we didn't get a lot of outside static, because if we walked upon something happening that one was in, then it automatically became a family member matter. I used to laugh sometimes because the office was called the bathroom, and if you were in the office at 3 o'clock in the morning discussing some family business, there was a problem. And we used to always say that, and I say, "There's no problem, Rick." And he said, "If there's no problem, why are we in the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning discussing that? Why is that even necessary?" So we had those kind of sets. I got fired. My brother got fired. We were real. We were for real. I learned a lot from him. I never asked him for anything that he turned me down for. And I was abusive about some things. I had to be checked because I had never had that many resources at my demand before. So I was a little bit hard to handle sometimes. So he had to check me too. But I did what he wanted me to do at first until I became a victim of the system. And I felt very bad because my mother, her only words to me was, "Don't let your brother die." And here I am, joining in my brother's folly in the end. So that was something else. And I had my demons too that I had to deal with.
Now, looking at the documentary, respecting and having love and admiration for Rick the way we do, I looked at that and I said, well, some of the stuff was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow. But I looked at it and I said, well, Baba, they had to be balanced about it. They just can't talk about all the genius. They got to be a little bit balanced. So I had to kind of bite down and just listen to it all. But what do you think about, the ups and the downs, and what should we remember Rick on? Because sometimes I think we talk about, in the media that is, talk too much about. Now the documentary had to, be balanced and be truthful, but we talk sometimes a little bit too much about as you say, the demons and the negativity and stuff. How do you think we should be looking at Rick today?
I recognize that a sensationism sells, and you don't want to hear about him giving money to the markets and donating to this person or fighting MTV for the rights of black entertainers. You know, you don't necessarily want to hear that, and because what he sold and what he got famous on was smoking the weed, which he would have probably legalized a long time ago because he loved his bud, and being outspoken. He hated Reagan. He hated what Reagan did with the HIV thing, where he thought it was just our disease. It was a black homosexual disease, so let us die. Basically, he was outspoken about all those things. All those things wouldn't sell well. Him being the super freak, him holding hostages and doing all these things that every other star did. That they got involved in drugs. Once the dark side comes out, it's out. But my brother kind of made the dark side pay in his own way, because you watched every movie made, and if you watch anybody, you're going to come up with a lot of faults, because there are no perfect beings, and the stars that having so much talent, that gives them so much more faults, and we love to see that. We love to see the giants fall, and he was a giant. They love to get into his feud with maybe Prince. They never sat and listened to him and Prince talk. There was a younger brother coming up who actually learned from Rick, and when he was, Prince was a real introvert. I spoke with him. I used to have after parties, and man, he would sit there with the orange juice, and he didn't want to sign the autographs, and he didn't want to talk. But once he hit that stage, he was a ball of fire. Well, Rick seen him as a threat, really, because that was him years ago before he became big. And here's this young man that's kind of growing very fast. They're doing the same things. They're both talking about having a girls group, Vanity Six, Mary Jane Girls. They talk about doing pictures. Prince Purple Rain. He wanted to do Ghetto Alice in Ghetto Land. My man, the band that Prince had with I forget his name. Yeah, more Standard Times. And Rick had Process and the Do-Rad Rags, the Boogie Band. He had Valiant. They both had similar goals, and I heard them talk about them. It's just that Prince went on to do his while my brother drug his feet and got caught in the other traps that slowed him down. But so all this sold well, and so he became the bad boy. And bad boy, he had his virtues and his wrong things were no different than anybody else. You know, you can look at any star that lived too fast and too hard, who died very young. There's a whole bushel full of white artists that did it, black, brown, yellow, red, white. The same thing happened to all of them. Once they fail to treat that like a business, and to go do an 8 to 5 with it and then go home and be normal. My brother was on all the time. Apparently Prince was on all the time too. I think he died of he had fentanyl in his system. And you can say whatever you want to say. He did it because he was wearing them high heel shoes and jumping and doing them splits. Whatever the reason, all of your stars have clay feet, and we all be looking for that. So it's easy to go to the dark side. They just happen to go often and more frequently, you know, than anybody else.
Yes, sir. And let's talk about the MTV, because as we know, people say, well, you know, Michael Jackson was the first to get on MTV. Yeah, but who broke the door open?
Yeah, that's a story within itself. I like that story. I can't think of that guy's name. I once knew it. He was a big white guy with white blonde hair. And all I know is that all these English garage groups was coming over when they first started MTV. It was like God's answer to rock and roll, man. And all he brought on was all these white guys, because they had happened to be doing it longer, and they had videos and stuff, and so he kind of utilized that. But the black guys who was coming on, who had all the talent, they weren't getting any play at all. There would have been no Michael Jackson if my brother wouldn't have pitched a bitch with the white guy. He talked about him so badly and so openly, called him a racist and everything else, and there was playing very, very few blacks. You could count them on your one hand, and my brother spoke on that, and the guy got heartlessly mad at Rick about that. So what he said was one time, and I remember, he said, "I'm going to start putting black people on here, but you will not be one of them," and he never did until Eddie Murphy did Party All the Time, and Eddie was close with this dude, and he put that on. He put Rick and Eddie on it. In fact, he came to when we taped it in Buffalo at the house, and he was putting the finishing touches in Greenwich Village at the Hendrix studio, and he came, and I happened to be there for that. And then after that, man, when Michael went big, man, with all that stuff, it would have never been seen. It would have never seen a day of light if it wouldn't have been for Rick to give him that exposure. And so those two kind of went together. MTV and Michael hit it just right. He had a venue for it. Man, it sold, and he became the greatest thing since popcorn.
Well, Brother Carmen, thank you so much for giving me some of your time, and I can't wait till tomorrow to see the Stone City Band at the New York State Fair. I think it's going to be a good show with the Mary Jane Girls, I think, as well. Oh, yeah, talk about them. Rick, that was Rick, are they from Buffalo?
Well, first of all, let's kind of straighten that up. This is not the original Mary Jane Girls that you're going to be seeing tomorrow at the State Fair. This is Val Young, and there will be a Mary Jane Girl with her, Candy, who was one of the originals. Maxie is not there. JoJo is not there. The original Mary Jane Girls are not there. And Val Young was a separate artist that my brother produced. She did do two great albums, Seduction and another one. And she didn't get the play that she should have got, or she would have gotten big. She had been with the Gap Band and with the Parliamentary Funkadelics, so she had a good background. He took her under his wing, and he did some stuff. But these that you see tomorrow at the State Fair will be Val Young's Mary Jane Girls, and the only original Mary Jane Girl in there will be Candy. I'm not sure who else will be there. And when he started that group, the first group that he had was a backup group that he called the Color Girls, and that was Lisa and Jackie, Levi Ruffin's wife. They were the Color Girls. And when he started the Mary Jane Girls, that was a totally different energy, and that was JoJo, Candy, Maxie, Corvette came on next, but there was another girl, Sherry was before her, and there was four of them, and they were the Mary Jane Girls, and they had several good records and good albums, Up on the Roof and some other stuff, you know, In My House and some other stuff. And by the way, he wrote all that stuff. They were just he taught them how to dance, the sound and everything. And when they got mad finally and they broke off, they never did do well on their own, because I used to call them, they were a special pair of ugly Mary Jane Girls, and that would have been Morphine and Levi and Nate and them guys who was doing a lot of background songs with them. But Rick wrote, dressed them, taught them, and did everything, and they were his creation. The same as Vanity 6. Well, Tina was another story. Tina was vegetating in Motown. They didn't know what to do with her. She had been with him for a while. They had tried to use her, and it just didn't work. They gave her to him, and she did Wild and Peaceful. A Sucker for Your Love and all that, Plain Cover. I remember when he introduced me to her. We were in the parking garage down in L.A. at Motown, and he'd been playing this tape for me in the car all the time. So we're in the garage. You were parking, and these two girls are walking toward me. He said, "You're gonna get a chance to meet Tina." One was a black girl, and one was a white girl. And as they approached me, I approached the black girl and said, "Girl, you can throw down." And Rick said, "No, not her, this one." And he pointed to the little white girl, and I'm standing with my mouth wide open, and she's laughing at me. I later went on to work for Tina for 2 years too. God bless her. She was a saint. Crossed over into the black The black seemed big, never did cross over into the white. God bless her though. She was one of the best things, sounding more black than black.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, Brother Carmen, thank you. Thank you, sir, for giving me these jewels and gems, and let's stay in touch. Let's stay. I will be coming to Buffalo because I want to speak to the sister who runs the African American Cultural Center.
There's some beautiful people there, man, and there's some people who've been there for years. So please come down if you feel like it. Please come down and visit me, man. Here's my stuff. Here's my card, my number. Please give me a call and let me know when you're in town, man. I will gladly come and show you around anytime.